Welcome to week 2 of college football recap, where we'll be recapping key games from this past week of college football. We'll take a look at some key performances by some players, and we'll take a look at a lot of games around the nation. So without further ado, let's get it started. We start out with Michigan versus Texas, where this was supposed to be game of the morning, but it wasn't even a game by halftime. The score by the end of the first half was 24-3 Texas, and by that time, Texas had taken 33 of their 40 snaps in Michigan territory. Texas will only score 7 points in the second half, but Michigan only scored 9 points in the second half, so Texas won 31-12. Texas was clicking on all cylinders on offense. They had 389 total yards. They converted 10 of their 16 third downs. They had 19 first downs to Michigan 13. They averaged 5.7 yards per play, and they outran Michigan 143 yards to 80 yards. For Michigan, it was a different story. This really looked like late 2010s, early hardball Michigan type teams where it was bad quarterback play. Yeah, it's supposed to have a good defense, but they're just out athleted on the other positions by the other team. Michigan quarterback Davis Warren really struggled. Yeah, he was 22 for 33 for 204, but he had 2 interceptions. And it was a very inaccurate game for him. Now, Michigan, this game will have 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. They will only convert 3 of their 12 third downs, and they only had 13 first downs this whole game. And with this win in the big house, Texas looked like they're primed to maybe even take the number 1 spot in the poll rankings. And for Michigan, they got some quarterback questions to answer. While Texas was out there whooping on Michigan, Arkansas, Oklahoma State was out there having a good game. This was a tale of 2 halves for both teams, as Arkansas looked like they walked into Oklahoma State's house and was dismantling them in the first half. Arkansas was up 21-7 at halftime, but then Oklahoma State only allowed 7 points in the second half. Oklahoma State would score 21 unanswered and they would go up 28-27, but Arkansas responded with a touchdown, making it 28-28. The game would eventually go into overtime, 31-31, and that's where Oklahoma State pulled out the game, 39-31. And what cost Arkansas this game was the fact that they had 3 turnovers to only Oklahoma State's 1. And another storyline to look out for this game was the fact that Ollie Gordon had 17 carries, only 49 yards, and 2.9 yards per carry. This Oklahoma State team showed that they can fight back from adversity, and this Arkansas team looked good, but there's still some things that they need to fix. Leave it to Notre Dame to choke a game that they're supposed to win when they have a favorable schedule for the rest of the season in college football. I mean, is this just how Notre Dame's offense is going to look for the whole season? Struggle. Look like it's going to be good for a couple drives, but then they just struggling again. There needs to be a serious conversation about Riley Leonard being incredibly overrated after last season. I mean, dude only had 163 yards and he had 2 interceptions this game. And let's be honest, they beat Texas A&M, but he wasn't really good that game either. Notre Dame run game was still good this game. They had 123 yards. Jeremiah Love had 79 of those yards. But shout out NIU, they had a really good game, having 388 total yards this game, 198 passing yards for Ethan Hampton, and 1 touchdown to go along with that. But the story of this game for NIU's offense was running the ball, as they had 190 yards rushing, outgaining Notre Dame, and shout out to Antonio Brown, the running back, having 99 yards rushing. He also had 126 yards receiving, including 1 receiving touchdown. Shout out to Thomas Hammock, NIU's head coach, for getting this big upset win for NIU, and after the game, he said this about his team: "I just couldn't be more proud." Side note, Notre Dame paid Northern Illinois $1.4 million to play this game, and they end up losing. Nebraska versus Colorado wasn't even much of a game after the first quarter. It really needs to be a discussion on how overrated Coach Prime is. I mean, I'm fully bought out of the Coach Prime hype. Let's face it, Coach Prime's probably never going to win a Big 12 championship. Coach Prime's never probably going to make it to the college football playoffs. He's a terrible head coach. I'm going to be honest, his defense is probably going to be bad for the rest of his college career. He doesn't know how to balance high school and transfer portal recruits. If I'm Colorado, I might consider firing him because he brings talent, but he doesn't bring coaching. Nebraska, Dylan Raiola had a solid game, 185 yards, 1 touchdown. Dante Dow had a solid game for Nebraska as well. He had 74 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Nebraska defense played really well as they forced 2 turnovers, including the pick 6. On top of that, they forced Colorado to 16 yards rushing, which a lot of that is because sacks count against rushing yards in college football. If you're Nebraska, you feel really good about this win and the future of the program. If you're Colorado, then you're not happy and you got to worry about going 3-9 this season. Do I even talk about this game? Like 51-10, Tennessee just dominated North Carolina State. Like, I don't really have anything really bad to say about Tennessee this game. I guess Nico could have been a little bit better. He had 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions, so I guess he played an all right game. I will say Tennessee looks like they got a defense this year. This will be the first time they actually have a good defense under Josh Heupel. NC State, y'all frauds. Y'all didn't deserve to be ranked. Grayson McCall, you look terrible throughout the first 2 weeks. And I don't know what else to say about NC State. Let's look at some other games around the nation. We got number 19 Kansas versus Illinois, as Illinois put off the upset. First a home upset win for Illinois since 2011 against Arizona State. Shout out to Xavier Scott in this game, as he had 2 interceptions, including one of them being a pick 6. Tulane had Kansas State on the ropes, but luckily Kansas State was able to get off the ropes and fight back, and they was able to tie the game 27-27. Then they recovered a fumble for the win, and they won 34-27. Oklahoma will get a struggle win against Houston, where after the game, Brent Venables, Oklahoma Sooners head coach, would say that they deserve to lose the game, and honestly, I don't blame them. They played terrible. Penn State survived a close game against Bowling Green, 34-27, and let's be honest, I wasn't expecting Penn State defense to look as bad as they did against this team. Iowa versus Iowa State was a really great game, as Iowa looked like they was going to jump out to a lead and probably hold on to it. Then Iowa State responded, and Iowa State win on a walk-off field goal 20-19. The final score of Bama versus USF screams that it wasn't a good game, but for the first 3 quarters, it was a close game, but Bama pulled away in the 4th. Oregon survived the scare against Boise State as they kicked a field goal for the win, 37-34. Syracuse upset Georgia Tech, giving Georgia Tech their first loss, and look out, Syracuse might be ranked when it comes to the next AP poll. USC blew out Utah State, and then finally we got Arizona struggling against North Arizona, but they won, but the struggle still should be a little bit of a concern. And that recaps week 2 of the college football season. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.